The apartment was old, charming in a way modern buildings never were. High ceilings, creaking floorboards, windows that rattled in the wind. It was full of character, the landlady had said, full of life. Eleanor loved it instantly. The smell of dust, the faint scent of forgotten things, hinted at stories soaked into the very walls. She unpacked, imagining the lives lived within these rooms, the laughter, the arguments, the quiet moments of solitude. Her cat, Midnight, seemed less convinced. He huddled close, tail twitching nervously. He hadn't liked the car ride, hadn't liked the unfamiliar smells. He'd always been sensitive, picking up on her moods. Now he seemed to sense something else, something unseen. The first whisper came that night, breaking the silence like a fragile thread snapping in the dark. A soft sigh, like wind through dry leaves, rustling with an eerie familiarity. Eleanor dismissed it, thinking the city was full of strange noises, a cacophony of life that never truly slept. But then came another, a murmur too close to her ear, as if someone was standing right beside her. Midnight stiffened, fur on end, sensing something unseen. He hissed at the shadows, a low growl vibrating in his throat, warning of an invisible threat. Eleanor held him close, feeling a chill crawl up her spine, her heart pounding in her chest. It was probably just the old pipes, she told herself, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Old buildings settled, she reasoned. The next day, she mentioned the noises to the landlady, hoping for reassurance. The woman, wrinkled and frail as a dried leaf, only smiled, her eyes twinkling with a secret. "Old buildings, dear," she said, patting Eleanor's hand gently. "They have their own way of speaking. They talk sometimes. Tell their stories," she added, her voice trailing off into a whisper. But her eyes held a flicker of something else, something knowing, something that hinted at untold tales and hidden truths. The whispers grew louder, no longer just sighs but distinct words, phrases she couldn't quite decipher. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, weaving through the air, clinging to the shadows. Midnight wouldn't leave her side. He paced restlessly, a constant low growl rumbling in his chest. His eyes, usually emerald green, took on a sickly yellow glow, reflecting the unseen menace that seemed to permeate the apartment. Eleanor tried to ignore it. She turned up the radio, read late into the night, but the whispers followed her. They seemed to mock her attempts at normalcy, their insidious whispers weaving a tapestry of fear around her heart. Sleep became impossible. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the window panes sent shivers down her spine. The whispers became a chorus, a cacophony of voices vying for her attention. Exhaustion gnawed at her, her reflection in the mirror a stranger, pale, eyes shadowed with fear. She considered leaving, finding another apartment, but something held her back. A morbid fascination, perhaps, or maybe the whispers themselves, holding her captive in their unseen web. One night, the whispers stopped. A silence descended, heavier, more oppressive than the noises had ever been. It was then she realized they hadn't been trying to speak to her. They'd been keeping something else at bay. The shadow moved in the corner of her eye, a fleeting glimpse that sent a shiver down her spine. At first it was just a flicker, a deeper shade of darkness against the already dim walls, almost as if the shadows themselves were alive. But then it shifted, elongated, taking on a vaguely humanoid form, its presence growing more menacing with each passing second. Midnight hissed, a raw, primal sound that echoed through the room, his fur standing on end. He launched himself towards the shadow, claws extended, but passed right through it, landing awkwardly on the floor. The shadow rippled, a cold wind sweeping through the room, chilling Eleanor to the bone, making her breath visible in the frigid air. It moved towards her, slow and deliberate, like a predator stalking its prey, its intent unmistakable. Terror, raw and primal, seized her, paralyzing her limbs and clouding her thoughts. She scrambled back, heart pounding against her ribs, a scream caught in her throat, unable to escape. The shadow stretched, reaching for her, and she knew with chilling certainty that it wouldn't be satisfied until it claimed her, its darkness consuming her completely. Eleanor didn't remember grabbing her coat, didn't remember throwing open the door and fleeing into the night. Her mind was a blur, a whirlwind of panic and desperation, driving her forward with a force she couldn't resist. All she remembered was the terror, the suffocating darkness, the feeling of something cold and malevolent clinging to her heels. It was as if the shadows themselves had come alive, reaching out with icy fingers to drag her back into the abyss. She found another apartment, bright and modern, devoid of character and shadows. It was a stark contrast to the oppressive gloom she had escaped from, a sanctuary of light and simplicity. But the whispers followed her, fainter now, but still there, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the everyday world. They were like echoes of a nightmare, never fully fading, always lingering at the edge of her consciousness. She never spoke of that night, but the fear remained, etched deep within her. It was a silent companion, a shadow that clung to her every step, a reminder of the horrors she had faced and the ones she feared might still be lurking. A chilling reminder that some doors, once opened, can never be truly closed. They leave a mark, an indelible scar on the soul, a gateway to memories that refuse to be forgotten. And some shadows, once encountered, continue to haunt the edges of your vision, waiting for the moment you let your guard down, waiting to claim you as their own. They are the silent watchers, the unseen predators, always lurking, always waiting.